Start off my discussion today by indicating that I may be an undergraduate, but I am an engineer. And I know this at this point because of my trip to Antarctica. Traveling to Antarctica constituted something that I was not entirely sure that I did want to do. There was a lot of fear attached with that. I went into the situation as a student and came out as an engineer. And I'd like to talk to you about our trip down there and the confluence of factors that allowed that to occur. Thank you. So as was indicated, we were studying the properties of sea ice, and I know this is not a technical conference, but just to give you just the briefest of backgrounds, we really are interested in the way that the fluid flows in sea ice. And because the fluid in sea ice is conductive, electricity would tend to follow those same pathways. So under the work of Dr. Ken Golden in the math department, we were recruited to take electrical measurements, and he took measurements of the fluid movement, and we were trying to relate the two for future measurements from remote locations. So this trip started, as most trips start, with, first of all, some research and trying to get a grasp on the problem, followed by a flight, and it was a very long flight. It was a flight in suspense. There was so much unknown about our destination that we were, I think, a little bit concerned and uptight. We knew that we would be staying for a few weeks with one another in very tight quarters with no way to leave. Depending on the weather, sometimes even no place to go, because in severe weather conditions, you're not allowed outside. We were concerned that we would drive each other crazy, that we would not like each other. So the flight was quite an experience. We did take an opportunity to try to bond a bit. In this picture, when I see this, I see a group of people that look like they are trying to get along that don't know each other. We're certainly not a team here. We are not friends. We don't know each other. This was a unique experience because of the military checkpoint we went through. We did get to actually see the cockpit of a plane. I don't think that's happened since like the 80s. They did not give us wings, unfortunately, but it was a fantastic experience. On our arrival into Antarctica, we, again, did not know what to expect. We came down and it was cold and it was flat and there was nothing around, and I was very scared, simply because of the unknown. Having said that, as Donna White indicated, it is important to embrace our fears and allow them to lead us into the unknown. And so we moved ourselves into the unknown. At this point in time, we traveled to Scott Base, which is a New Zealand Air Force base there. And we had the opportunity to meet the New Zealanders there. This is the first element of the confluence of factors that allowed the transformation within me. Scott Base is a safe place. It is a place that I felt comfortable and I felt at home. The people there were fantastic. They were interested in how I was doing. They were interested in the work that we were doing, but I felt like when they talked to me that they were more interested in myself as a person than any body of work that I had produced, which was fortunate because I'm an undergraduate student and I had produced nothing. This is the point in time that our team started to come together and started to generate a camaraderie. We explored the area around Scott Base and inside. We shared some common experiences there that were amazing and were binding. And I think that it's really this experience as a team that allowed the transformation to occur, or at least was an important element in it. And this took place in more than one way. There was structured bonding as we learned survival skills. We learned what to do if we were trapped on the ice. We learned how to start fires, how to make food, how to do, first aid, the basic essentials that we would need if we were stuck somewhere without help, how to navigate. As important, we underwent some unstructured bonding. This is a photo of us doing some parasledding with a tarp that we took down. Engineers having fun. This point in time, we really I think this experience is important because this is when we finally cemented together as a team. Not working on our body of work. We had started a little bit of that work but had not gone into the depth of it, but in trying to design a sled that would carry us across the ice. The simplest of tasks, something that everybody there enjoyed, allowed us to unify together as a team and allowed us to work together in a way that would never have been possible otherwise. At this point in time, following Scott Base, we moved to our base camp. This is K131. You can see the green shipping containers in the back. We lived in one of those, 4 of us did. There were sleeping quarters for 6. We were fortunate enough to have 2 extra beds to put stuff on. K131, I'm sorry, it's a very emotional place for me. When I think of K131, this is the place that I became, I think, who I am today, even though I have known myself for 28 some odd years. In further bonding, we took a familiarization trip in which we learned the geography in the area. We did get to see penguins. We had to include a picture of penguins because everybody wants to see penguins. We did get to see sills as well. We learned about navigating on the ice. This was fantastic team building. Once we had the team building, or our team built, and we were functioning as a team unit, as we started conducting our work, the element of the team came into play. As with everything, as with all research excursions, before leaving we tried to get a good handle on the situations and the problems that we would face. We did a lot of research, both textbook research as well as we did create some artificial ice in a laboratory, did some testing there. And like all well-laid plans, when we moved into the field, there were conditions there that we did not anticipate and could not anticipate having not been there. And our best-laid plans failed. They failed spectacularly in some cases, and we had some moderate success in others. At this point in time, this is where I transformed. This was the first experience that I have had that I have been in a situation that had no rigorous plan. This was not like a lab that I have taken or a class. There was no textbook. Only a situation in which we had no opportunity to repeat ourselves, and we had to have results. And so we sat down and we tried to apply knowledge that I have actually learned, and this is the first time that I have really applied this knowledge, and really tried to have an understanding of all of the variables that take place in an environment such as this, and tried to understand and really apply the scientific method in a way that I could understand why the things that we were doing were not working. What about the things that we were doing could we have control over? And for the things that we did not have control over, how could we possibly work around these? I had never thought this way before, and I don't think that without this experience, I would think this way at this point in time. I believe that at some point in time, I would have reached this point that I could apply knowledge and could perform improvisational work. I do not believe this would have taken place until I had entered a career field or career path or had achieved a much higher education than I currently have. Having said that, being forced to improvise, we did improvise, and we came up with methods that were ultimately successful. We went out every day and we tried something new, and inevitably many of the things that we tried did fail. One of the things that I did learn from this was to be comfortable with my failures, because I learned more from them than from the things that actually worked in the field. And given the opportunity to go out again, I'm fortunate to understand that I will have this opportunity. I will have a much greater toolkit with me because of the failures that I experienced. And more importantly, I will be unafraid to go out and to try something, even in the belief or the thought or the fear that it will fail. Because there's always something that we can do beyond a failure. After our work there, we took a plane ride home, which was a very different experience than the plane ride there. The plane ride home we all understood that something about us had changed from our experience in Antarctica, from the weeks that we spent with one another, from the insanity we likely suffered from seeing no darkness because the sun was always out. This plane ride home, aside from being on a military plane and a lot of people were sleeping, I found this as an opportunity to really reflect upon my experience there. And what I had found with my reflections is that although I in no means discovered Antarctica, I underwent a personal discovery of Antarctica that constituted something of so much more value to me than anything that I have previously known. I found my confidence in my problem-solving skills, in my abilities and my creativity, and my competence as an engineer. Doctors are in demand not because they can look up information in a textbook, but because they understand the systems they work with, and they know how to think like doctors. The same applies to lawyers, the same applies to engineers, and I am happy to say that I stand in front of you as an engineer. I appreciate all of your time and thank you.